Hello everyone and welcome back to the UConn Huskies Dynasty. It is year number 4 and there are significant changes to the UConn Huskies. Namely, we will be having a new QB1 for the first time in the series. Spent 3 seasons with Nick Evers and he did us quite proud, but now it's time to move on. And the options are the junior Cole Welliver, who has been with the team from the start, much more like Nick Evers in his play style, or the redshirt freshman freak athlete Dorian Tobin. And after an absurd amount of testing, I am talking like 10 plus hours of flipping back and forth, it's going to be Welliver, it's going to be Tobin, I have ultimately decided that it has to be Dorian Tobin to start, but on a short leash. So like I mentioned, I did a ton of testing with the 2 quarterbacks, and generally what I found to be true was that Tobin, with his athletic ability and his platinum magician, it's just so easy to escape the pocket and extend plays that Welliver just has no chance to extend. But then on the other hand, Welliver has a stronger arm and outside of short accuracy is generally more accurate. And I have to say, in general, his deep balls are much better than Dorian Tobin's. They're generally more accurate. He tends to lead the receiver better from the testing I've done. They have the same throw on the run ability, but obviously with Tobin, he's going to run into much more space than Welliver is. Plus, Tobin has silver off platform, which basically just means that he is better at throwing off of his back foot and across body. Welliver just doesn't really have the physical abilities to be that #1 guy right now, is my feeling about it. But like I said, Tobin will be on a short leash. And if we ever feel like Welliver would actually run the offense better, we can make that switch. And honestly, Tobin being a running type of quarterback is a significant injury risk, so you might see Welliver anyway. Most of the comments tended to be in agreement that Tobin should be the starter and that his physical abilities plus the platinum magician is just way too much to pass up. And honestly, I agree for the most part, though the sort of realist in me does kind of think that Welliver makes a lot of sense. There was another comment that said that we're coming off of our best season in history and Welliver can run the exact same offense the exact same way as Nick Evers did, and so it makes a lot of sense to just plug him in, and I agree with that as well. I really don't think that there was a way that we could go wrong here. I do just think that the offense kind of has to perform in 2 different types of ways depending on which quarterback is in, and I think that Tobin gives us the best opportunity to put up a lot of points and get a lot of victories in what has become a pretty strong Big 12. As for the rest of the lineup, it's pretty much what you'd expect. Darrell Robinson is far away the HB1. I'm allowing Max Cadet to be the RB2 this season. He does have the best speed of anyone in the running back room, and that is as a power back. So I like him as the backup option to bring in a little bit of power and a touch more speed over Darrell Robinson. Wide receiver 1 is Shamar Porter, of course. Wide receiver 2, Dalton Schmizniak in the offseason took huge strides and has become an elite route runner. Not quite as good as Shamar Porter, but really, really good, and he's only a red shirt freshman. Plus, he's 6'4" with 90 speed. Dude, I think is going to be an absolute animal for this team for a long time to come. He's going to be the wide receiver 2. And I'm a little torn here with Terry Overhauser and Jackson Harper. Jackson Harper, one of my favorite targets last season, 6'2" with 93 speed. Overhauser is faster though, but Harper has better acceleration. Overhauser generally has better hands as well with better spec catch and regular catching. Harper has better catch in traffic. Harper is a much better short route runner, but Overhauser is better medium and deep. So basically what I've decided to do is that Overhauser will be the actual wide receiver 3, but Harper will be the backup slot receiver to Shamar Porter, which means you should see Harper and Overhauser both quite a bit. They'll kind of rotate in between each other as the wide receiver 3 and 4. Then it's a guy we added in the transfer portal. That's Edward McClinton. I kind of brought him in as depth. Plus he's a junior, so he should see some big upgrades next season since we are losing Harper and Porter. The tight end one, of course, is Marcus Angler, but we did learn during the last episode that Angler is basically at his skill ceiling right now. So unless I can unlock some of those skills, I do actually think he's going to be passed by Dan Sanders probably as early as next season. Then, of course, the tight end 3 will be Trey Keenan, who is a commit from season 1 up to a 67 overall, and I believe that is his skill cap as well. I've changed around the offensive line a good bit. Originally, the left tackle was set to be Torian Johnson. But there's a number of guys on this team that have one rating in particular that is absolutely horrendous. And in the case of Torian Johnson, that is pass block finesse, which is a 57, meaning that against speed rushers in particular, he is going to get beat badly. So I don't like the idea of him being the blindside blocker. So I've decided to put the junior and transfer Jack Hines at left tackle. Even though he has a lower overall, I think generally he is a better blocker. Really, to be honest with you, I think the big difference in terms of their overall rating is the fact that Johnson has 86 awareness to Hines's 67. The left guard, as always, will be Ben Morosky. He is finally in his senior season, easily our best offensive lineman. And this might be surprising, but our center is going to be 71 overall Larry Adams. And you'd think, why isn't it 81 overall Jake Kiernan? We benched Jake Kiernan last season as well, and it's just the same reason as Torian Johnson. He has two terrible ratings, pass block only at a 68 and run block power at a 63. Not to mention, at only 6 feet tall, he is a little undersized to be an offensive lineman just in general. So I am giving the nod to Larry Adams because he in general is much more balanced. And if we want to, we can also start Wayne Rourke, but I decided to go with Adams for now because I prefer the fact that he has more balance between pass blocking and run blocking. But let me know what you think. For the right guard, it's going to be Blake Franks. He played right guard for us last season. Didn't really have any complaints there. And generally, he has more balanced blocking ratings than a guy like Ty Polk, for example, despite Polk having a 2 overall advantage over Blake. And the right tackle for now, and he's on a short leash for sure, is going to be Torian Johnson. Obviously, we benched him from left tackle because I don't like him being the blindside blocker with 57 pass block finesse, but I can deal with him being at the right tackle position. Though, if we see him getting beat by speed rushers constantly, we'll probably have to make a change, and that change might be Manny Smith, despite the fact that he's a bad run blocker. We do tend to run to the left more than we run to the right, so him being a bad run blocker isn't as bad as him being a really good pass blocker. 85, 85, 85 for his pass blocking stats. I do think that the offensive line is improved, but I am basing it a lot more on the actual blocking ratings rather than their overall. I think that awareness is upping players' overalls way too much, and that includes for guys like Torian Johnson. Starting left end is going to be Cleto Chol, and you guys who are probably Johnny McNulty lovers like me might be wondering why he isn't starting, and don't worry, he still will play a lot. So I'll show you that in just a second. But Cleto, as a senior, I think deserves to play. He's become a pretty good player. 84 power moves with the 75 block shedding is a nice combo. The right end, of course, is going to be the senior Logan Stern. He is up to an 83 overall. Really no battle here. And if you're curious about Adonis Keogh, he does have star development. We're really excited about having him on the team. We do need to make sure that we keep our sack numbers up because playing style is the deal breaker for him. So as long as we can get sacks this season, he shouldn't be a transfer risk. He honestly could probably start right now. Let me know what you guys think about that prospect. He already has 86 block shedding with the 71 power moves. Defensive tackles are going to be Calvin Whitaker and Alan Swan, and here is the point where you're going to start seeing a ton of sophomores. Basically, our whole defense is sophomores outside of a couple seniors, and I believe Lovelace is a junior this season. Left outside linebacker is going to be sophomore Joey Terrell. He will also be the second sub linebacker to Raheem Lovelace. It'll be him and Lovelace as the main linebackers you see this season. Same thing we saw last year. Lovelace, of course, the starting middle linebacker, is a junior and up to a 90 overall. The dude is a beast. Right outside linebacker is going to be Gerard Byler, and he is up to an 86 overall. We have got a really good linebacker room, and we have switched instead of a 4-2-5 into a 4-3 to try to make sure that Byler is a little more involved. So here is the cornerback room. The CB1 is going to be Santos. He is an 82 overall, but generally has the best coverage rating, specifically in man coverage. Plus, he has the good size and speed combo. Cam Chadwick listed as the CB2, so when we're not running like a nickel or a dime, he will be in as the CB2. But when we do run 3 corners or more, Chadwick will move to the slot and Kiki will become the other outside corner. He has 94 speed. He's our fastest corner by a decent amount. He just hasn't seen the improvements to his coverage like I would want. And I'm going to say he's probably on a short leash. I think AJ Hepburn is right now a better corner than Kiki, but I think with Kiki's speed, we have to give him the nod at least temporarily because Hepburn is a little bit more of a slot corner type. And again, look at all the sophomores here. Santos, Kiki, and Hepburn, all sophomores. At free safety, it's going to be the junior Robert Butts. He is an 81 overall and just generally looks like he's about to be a really good safety. I mean, 95 zone coverage is disgusting. And then the strong safety is going to be Daniel Hutchison. We saw him a little bit last season, was never really disappointed with him, and he also has insane zone coverage. But I do think that Joshua Dora is probably going to take over his spot sooner rather than later. He's just a much better athlete with better size, just doesn't have the coverage capabilities to the same extent that Hutchison does, but is a better tackler with better hit power. Kicker, of course, Zach Costanzo. Punter, Roger DeLuca. Kick returner and punt returner is going to be Terry Overhauser with Kiki as the backup. The third down back, of course, is Robinson, and the power back will be Max Cadet. Slot receiver is Shamar Porter. And this is where McNulty will play a bit more. He will be the rush left end. And what that means is that in certain formations, he will play as the left end, but he won't always be in. And that is what we did with him last season. He was the rush right end instead of Logan Stern. So you'll still see quite a bit of Johnny McNulty, and I hope that he continues to sort of have a breakout performance. Honestly, his power moves and finesse moves are both quite good. It's just his block shedding that is a little weak, but he has great play recognition. He's a smart cookie. And the rush right end, of course, is going to be Logan Stern this season. The rush DTs are Alan Swan and then Calvin Whitaker. And then the sub linebackers are Raheem Lovelace and Joey Terrell. And last but not least, the slot corner is Cam Chadwick with Hepburn as the backup. I am changing the playbooks for this season. I mentioned that we're switching to a 4-3 defense. We're also going to be switching to a spread option offense with Jack State playbook. I like this playbook a lot. I've been doing a lot of testing with it, and I think it works really well to highlight the strengths of both of the quarterbacks, no matter who is playing. With Tobin, we have a lot of plays that can get him out in open space, and we even have like speed options, for example, but we have more traditional plays as well, and a lot of play action, which Cole Welliver is quite good at. So if we do end up benching Tobin, I think that Welliver will be just fine in the spread option offense. And now for recruiting, and I think you guys are going to be surprised. UConn has a lot of 5 stars interested this season. There's a right end in Joshua McCargo, who is the nation's 16th ranked player, and we are first on his board currently. There's Darren Michelle, who is the 21st ranked player. He is a D tackle. And you know what? We're kind of loaded at quarterback right now, but there is no way I wasn't adding the 2nd rated player in the country to my big board when we started as 2nd before I even added any points. He is from Connecticut. He wants to play at UConn. It just makes perfect sense. It's a perfect fit. And I did scout him. He is a field general type, so he is more of that Nick Evers, Cole Welliver, pocket passer type of guy. He does have 79 speed, which is a little bit faster than Evers was. And Evers wasn't like terrible at scrambling from time to time, so that does give a little bit of promise. But really, those accuracies are already insane. 87 short, 85 medium right out the gate. I would argue that he is the future quarterback of this team if we can get him in. And then there's a 4-star right end in Kevin October. He is a gem, which is why I am pursuing him so heavily. Free safety, Sean Bosby. 5-star athlete, elusive back, Zach Nestrowitz. And then a lot of 4 stars. There's not many 3 stars that are interested this season in UConn. Once you hit a certain star level as a program, which we are now a 3-star level, the lower rated prospects do not become interested anymore. We can't get 2 stars, we can't get 1 stars, and there's very few 3 stars interested. So I'm going after a few 5 stars because I think, because we're nearly a top 10 team in the country, I think that players would want to come to UConn. They're an emerging program. They're killing it in the Big 12, had an 0-3 start, but then finished with 10 straight victories a season ago. I don't think there's any reason to think that these types of players wouldn't want to come to UConn. So we're going very top heavy to start. I'm trying to get these top guys, and I'm going to try to not get as many players this season. One thing I have struggled with in College Football 25, whether it be the UConn Dynasty or otherwise, is I just get too many recruits. We only have 17 players departing this season. We don't need that many recruits. And honestly, our biggest needs come on the offensive line and with the offense in general. And then defensively, it's not nearly as much, just edge rushers and then some corners. But definitely the guys we want the most, Joshua McCargo, and I would argue John Pelshak, are my top 2 prospects. Those are the guys I want the most. I mean, Josh McCargo is a 5-star gem right end. It's like getting a new Tank Easy, who we missed out on last season, which, by the way, Tank Easy did come in as an 81 overall to the University of Georgia and has elite development. Oh my God, I shouldn't have looked. Now it hurts. So let me know what you guys think about the roster. Let me know what you think about the recruiting board. And because I ended the episode at kind of a weird spot last episode, you didn't get to see the schedule that we came up with. And here it is. We open with North Texas, which of course you probably saw. Then we play Arkansas, and we have a bye week, and then it's a huge stretch of conference games up until we play Auburn at week 13. But with all that out of the way, it is time for some UConn Huskies football back in season number 4. And with a somewhat new look offense, a couple freshman receivers, and most importantly, a freshman quarterback under center. And there he is, Dorian Tobin, coming out onto the field for the first time as the UConn Huskies starter. We were very much a run-first offense a season ago, and I think for the most part, I want to keep that the same, but with maybe a bit more option. And that's what we're going to be starting with today as a read option, but it goes to Darrell Robinson for 2 yards. 2nd and 8 from the 21 as Tobin will be back to pass for the first time in his UConn career. Well, at least as the starter, that is. 1st and 10 to the 29. Of course, if you remember, he did play a little bit last season whenever Nick Evers was struggling with some injury concerns. 1st and 10 from the 29, and Tobin going to keep this one. Maybe the wrong decision as he loses a yard. 2nd and 11 from the 29. We'll go back to the ground this time just with Darrell Robinson, though. He cuts it up the middle, and he gets a first up to the 42. 1st down and 10 from that 42, and it's another read option. And it's going to be a keeper for Darrell Robinson. And that brings us to the opposite 45. Being able to run a lot of read option is really nice. It just adds an element to our run game that North Texas has to be worried about. Now in the backfield is the redshirt freshman running back Max Cadet. And we're going to have a keeper here for Dorian Tobin. Lots of running room to work with. Tries to juke to the inside, but is tackled down from behind. Gets to the 33. 1st down and 10. So we'll go play action, and Tobin back to pass. As a man, it's Terry Overhauser, but he has it punched out from the 30. Big 3rd down here for the UConn Huskies. As Tobin is back to pass, he wants Angler over the middle, gets it to him despite taking a hit, and it's a 1st and 10 to the 13 for UConn. 2nd down from the 12. Tobin back to pass, gonna scramble to his right as he's being chased, but down he goes. A loss of 11. Ben Woodyard with the sack. Tobin obviously has incredible speed, so that guy being able to keep up is kind of a miracle. 3rd and 20 from the 23. As Tobin back to pass, going to step up in the pocket, look to scramble, needs a block, gets it, jukes back to the inside, but takes a big hit. Gets the 11 yards back, but not nearly enough for a first. We'll settle for a field goal attempt. Kick from Costanzo is up and good. So 3-0 UConn to start the day. North Texas takes the field for the first time today, and they are led by junior quarterback Cash McCullum. Halfback 1 is Ashton Gray, and the halfback 2 is Kiefer Sibley. Wide receiver 1, Josh Lawson. Then they have Philip Arseno, Mason Ferguson, and Gil Azuma. And then the tight end is Brandon Young Jr. It's mostly the same defense from last year, a lot of the same names. The 2 safeties are different. That's the primary changes. McCullum is going to keep it on a read option. He's not super fast like Dorian Tobin, but gets 7 yards. And it looks like North Texas runs a tempo offense, which is something we have historically been very bad against. Sibley gets the carry and gets the first up the middle. Really good run blocking there. 2nd down and 8 from the 31. McCollum will hand off. Sibley again goes through a big lane and gets tackled down by Calvin Whitaker, but another first. They appear to be a run-first type of offense as well, as Sibley gets another carry, and the run blocking has just been incredible for the young man as he gets 7 more. 2nd and 3 from the 48, already in UConn territory. McCollum hands off. Sibley again, blocking there again, and it's another first. Have yet to see a pass play from the North Texas offense. They hand off Sibley again, and this time the UConn defense is ready for it. And that brings us to a 2nd and 12. Maybe they finally go to the air for the first time. McCollum out of this pistol formation, and they will go to the air. Lots of time, but he throws it to Santos, who gets the first interception of the year for the UConn Huskies. That almost looked like it was intended for Jamie Santos, the redshirt sophomore corner, getting the first interception on the season. All it took was 1 tackle for loss, and then North Texas had to throw the ball, and the first pass attempt goes right to the Huskies. Tobin will be back to pass, and scrambling here, going to roll out to the left side and gets positive yardage before heading out of bounds at the 50. One of the reasons we went with Tobin is because of that Platinum Magician. He has some of the smoothest pocket movement you're going to see. 2nd and 3 from the 50 as Darrell Robinson attempts to cut this one back, does so, breaks a tackle, and gets 2. 3rd and 1 from the 48. Tobin will hand off Robinson, and he's not going to get the first. The blocking wasn't there, and should we punt here? We're going to go for it on 4th and 1 from the 48. Tobin takes the snap, hands Robinson, and he'll get the first easily, jukes back to the right and gets up to the 33. 2nd and 10 from the 33 as we'll hand off to Darrell Robinson, makes a move and gets a first. The run game still cooking like it was last season. 1st down and 10 from the 21 as Tobin back to pass, wants Shamar Porter on the right side, has to make a diving grab, but makes the grab nonetheless. Fast forward to play, it is 3rd down and 6 from the 17. Out of the shotgun by himself, Tobin will be back to pass, wants Darrell Robinson. Incomplete. Punched out of his hands, will settle for another field goal attempt. Costanzo's kick on its way and through the uprights. 2 for 2 to start the year, and 6-0 for the UConn Huskies. 1st and 10 North Texas. They were cooking us on the ground, and then as soon as they went to the air, they made a mistake. Back on the ground now with Sibley, and that's Raheem Lovelace making the tackle. I'm surprised they marked that as 2 yards. That did not seem like 2 yards. 2nd and 8 from the 15. Still Sibley in the backfield as it's going to be a handoff to him again. McNulty making the tackle. 3rd and 4. Could definitely see them going to the ground again here on a 3rd and kind of medium distance. No, they are going to the air, having a man, and that's intercepted again, this time by the other corner. It's George Kiki on the return, finds a lane and finds the end zone. George Kiki, in really his debut as a starter for the UConn Huskies, gets another interception. What is that? 2 passing attempts for North Texas, 2 interceptions and a pick 6. No wonder they've been running the ball so much. Clearly, their junior quarterback is not very good. 1 interception for each of the elite cornerback prospects that we signed in season number 1. They've got a different running back in the game now, but still the same quarterback, surprisingly, after 2 interceptions. That was Ashton Gray, number 7 in the backfield. He is listed as a captain, but we haven't seen him until now, and that's a drop for North Texas. That was the first passing attempt by Cash McCollum that wasn't intercepted, so technically an improvement. As he launches one down the field, it is incomplete. He had a man, and it was overthrown. This was clearly set up to be a running back screen, and then McCollum, just off his back foot, decides to lob it up to the receiver, which is the correct play. Daniel Hutchison did not get deep enough in his zone. Man, that could have been really bad for UConn. Instead, it's a missed opportunity. 13-0 UConn. Defense currently outscoring the offense. The offense has been able to move the ball pretty efficiently, but has kind of failed to get over that last hump at the very end. So we'll check this down to Shamar Porter, and he gets 7. 2nd and 3 from the 49 as Tobin back to pass. Scrambling and going to take off to run here, heads out of bounds at the enemy 40. 7 minutes left in the first half. 2nd and 10 from the 40. as we'll keep this with Tobin. What is that cutback move? That was kind of gross. Only good for 3 yards, though. 3rd and 7 from the 38. Tobin back to pass. Going to step up in the pocket. Was going to fire, but instead tackled down from behind. 4th and 9, and I do think we do need to punt here. 6 minutes left in the half for North Texas to make a drive and try to get some points before the half. They go back to the ground with Gray, and he'll get a first. Man, oh man, that run blocking at the front is insane. None of our front four has been able to get any sort of penetration at all, really, to this point, as Gray will get another carry and another first, up to the 48. This is a UConn team that's coming off a really good run defense performance all last season. Looking miserable to start here against North Texas, as this will be a check down to Gray and Lovelace there. Loss of a yard. 3rd and 10, surely going to the air here. McCollum is back to pass. Has all kinds of time, lobbing one down the field. Knocked away by Daniel Hutchison, and they'll punt it away. Keep an eye out for Daniel Hutchison. He wears number 5 on the defense. He has elite zone coverage ratings, but is not a very good athlete. He's definitely a guy we need to keep an eye on this season. 1st and 10 for UConn, though. We will hand this off to Darrell Robinson. Has a lane up the middle and gets a first. 1st down and 10 from the 33. Tobin back to pass. Wants the wide receiver screen to Terry Overhauser. Lucky it's not picked. Instead, it results in a 1st down. From the 45, it's 1st and 10. Tobin back to pass. Is actually going to hand off on the RPO to Darrell Robinson, who gets 5. 3rd and 5 from the 50. Tobin gonna launch one deep for Terry Overhauser. He's got the elite speed. He's got the touchdown for the UConn Huskies. Terry Overhauser is the 2nd fastest man on the football team, only behind the quarterback who just threw him the touchdown, Dorian Tobin. So when he's lined up one-on-one, you know a lot of the time he's going to beat his man down the field, and he does so here, even with the safety help over the top. Terry Overhauser just too fast. 20-0 for the Huskies, and this has been a sloppy football game from them. So good to see that we can get victories against slightly lesser opponents in these types of situations. Although I guess I shouldn't say victory too soon. It is only the 2nd quarter, and 20 points isn't exactly the heftiest lead on the planet. 2nd and 12 for North Texas. McCollum out of the shotgun, hands off. They're still going to the ground despite being down by 20 with less than 3 minutes remaining in the half. Well, now it's an empty set for McCollum, so of course he will be looking to throw. He's got a decent pocket here, has a man, and it's held on to. Actually, no, it's dropped at the very end. I thought he caught that. They are at -1 passing yards on the day, and they'll punt it away again. 2 minutes and 13 seconds for UConn to try to find some additional points. So hand this off Robinson. He gets 2. 2-minute warning. It's 2nd and 8 as Tobin back to pass. Scrambling. It's a screen set up for Robinson, but loses yardage. 3rd and 10 from the 48 as Tobin back to pass, running out of time, stepping up. I saw Overhauser at the last possible second. It didn't matter. 3 of our offensive linemen got beat. And it's a blocked punt for North Texas, recovered with one hand, and that's going to be a touchdown for the Mean Green. The snap was mishandled by the punter Roger DeLuca, and now suddenly North Texas immediately back in this. Their offense can't do anything. Their defense is playing admirably, and their special teams finds 6. This offensive line can't even protect the punter, let alone a quarterback. 1st and 10 from the 20. Minute 25 as Tobin steps up, going to look to scramble, slides down, and pickup of 8. Minute left, 2nd and 2 from the 28. Tobin will look to throw. He's going to lob one up for Shamar Porter this time, and he does not come down with it. Jack Hines got beat on that play once again. It's just been hard to watch with the left tackle so far this season. We'll take an easy 1st down with Darrell Robinson here. That will also temporarily stop the clock. 2nd down for UConn as Tobin back to pass, stepping up. Down he goes again. It's now a 3rd and 9 situation. Tobin back to pass, stepping up once more, and Jack Hines cannot hold a block to save his life. There's a lane there for Tobin to step up into, and he just gives up on his block every time. I saw my center getting beat in the middle here, So that's why I stepped up, was to give him help. But then Hines just completely gives up, and there's just nothing I can do. And I do have Marcus Angler over the middle. I can see him, and that's who I was looking for, or potentially to scramble. But man, Jack Hines has just been such a disappointment at left tackle so far. 18 seconds and 1 timeout for the Mean Green. We'll see if they take a shot here. As McCollum is out of the shotgun. No, they are going to run it. And it's a decent one, but only 5 yards. They do call a timeout, though. 2nd and 5 from the 33. As McCollum will actually look to throw this time. Has time, but it's running out. Throws it away. And now I imagine they will run the ball to end the half. We head to halftime. It's 20-7 for the UConn Huskies. The Mean Green do start with the football in the second half, though. 1st and 10 for North Texas. And it's Sibley in the backfield once again. He will get the carry. Breaks the Joey Terrell tackle. There is a flag down as Raheem Lovelace cleans it up. And that'll be holding on North Texas. 1st and 17 after the holding penalty. Gray checks in. Will they go back to the ground, though? They do indeed, and it's working out pretty well. Gray with a big pickup. It's basically all of that back, and it would have been better to decline the penalty. 2nd and 2 from the 23. McCollum with Gray to his right. Will hand it off, but Joey Terrell and Raheem Lovelace, the 2-star linebackers, combining for the stop. 3rd and 3. They will go to the air. Over the middle, finds his man, and that's a 1st down for North Texas. From the 30 now, McCollum will hand off Gray once again. They love to run the ball, this North Texas team. McCollum's out of the shotgun again. Gray to his right, calling an audible. And we'll hand it off to Gray, but Joey Terrell is in the backfield and sets up a 3rd and 11. A long way to go for the 1st. McCollum empty set. Has all kinds of time, and he's looking for it all in the direction of Jamie Santos again. He knocks it away, and they will punt once more. 1st and 10 UConn, as we have nullified the second half advantage for North Texas. And let's get back into our bread and butter. Let's start running the football again. And I don't mind it being with Dorian Tobin. We will have him slide down to avoid taking a big hit, though. 2nd and inches from the 48. Tobin on the keeper, tries to juke to the outside, and gives us a 3rd and 1. Kind of a long one as well. It's more like 1.5 from the 49. We'll go to the ground. Darrell Robinson, he'll get it easily. 1st and 10 from the 46. Back to pass with Dorian Tobin, and we get it to Darrell Robinson. And he gets another 1st, actually just short. 2nd and inches. Tobin back to pass. He wants it all with Dalton Schmizniak. There is a flag down. North Texas defender is celebrating, but he got a DPI called on his head. It's going to be a 1st down for the UConn Huskies. It is not a spot foul like it is in the NFL, but still a 1st down for UConn nonetheless, as he was kind of boxing out Dalton Schmizniak there. Made it pretty difficult to move forward. What a pancake block as Darrell Robinson will get a 1st up to the 8. I call him out when they do stuff poorly, so I got to give him praise when they do stuff right. Ben Morosky with an absolute pancake to clear the lane for Darrell Robinson. 1st and goal. Max Cadet has checked into the game, but Tobin will hand it off to him. There is a flag down, and it's a loss of yardage for UConn. Looks like Torian Johnson going to get called for holding. 1st and goal from the 18 now after the big loss. As Darrell Robinson gets a carry, tries to get to the outside and gets back inside the 10 for the offense. 3rd and goal from the 9. Tobin back to pass, running out of time, wants Porter, diving catch made. Touchdown UConn. Shamar Porter officially in his senior season grabs his 1st touchdown on the year. Expecting a big season from him as we may lean on the pass more with Dorian Tobin at the helm. Touchdown Huskies here extends the lead back to 20 points. Scratch that. It may not extend the lead as we are going to go for the 2-point conversion. From the 3, Tobin will look to throw, maybe look to scramble to get it, as for some reason Dalton Schmizniak comes back to the line of scrimmage. Tobin intended that for Dan Sanders. It falls incomplete. What was Dalton doing? Dalton probably coming back to attempt to help his quarterback. Oh, wow. I could have just run this in. I'm an idiot. Look at all that space I had with Tobin. I was too busy looking down the field just made the throw. Sanders actually got in the way of the North Texas defender that would have met Tobin at the goal line. That should have been a good 2-point conversion. I'm an idiot. 1st and 10 for North Texas. Back down 26-7 now, and it's a handoff to Sibley, breaking out of every tackle under the sun to get 8 yards. Well, you know, you can't say they're not committed to this run-first offense that they are clearly going with this season, as even down as much as they are, with not a ton of time left in the game, they continue to run the football. To their credit, for the most part, it's working. Don't let our Big 12 opponents see this. They may run the ball down our throat this season. Sibley runs into Robert Butts. Guess I just would anticipate them to be throwing the ball a little bit more in this situation, but I guess if you've already thrown 2 interceptions and the ground game is working, why would you? Sibley finds Cam Chadwick for 1-yard pickup. 3rd and 7, back to passes. McCullum has his man, but Cam Chadwick, defending 2 players, knocks it away. And it's a 4th down for North Texas. 1st down and 10 UConn. We're already in North Texas territory. Just go with a simple handoff to Darrell Robinson for 4 yards. 2nd and 6 from the 39. As Tobin back to pass, but stepping up in the pocket, does take a hit, but is short of the first. 3rd and inches from the 33, handoff, Robinson cuts it back up the middle. See you later. That's a touchdown for Darrell Robinson. The senior wide receiver got one. Now the senior halfback gets one as well. Robinson, big pickup through the lane and extends this UConn Huskies lead. 33-7. For the UConn Huskies. North Texas in a huge hole and still sticking to their ground game. I can't believe that. Well, they have an identity and they're not going to let anything stop them from running the ball. That's what they do. They go back to the ground again on 2nd and long and set up a 3rd and 8. Still the whole 4th quarter left, so I mean, I guess there is still time, but man, if you want to win this game, you got to start throwing the football a little bit, as this one is completed. Robert Butts couldn't get there. Did you see all of that wear and tear from Raheem Lovelace? Oh my God. No point in risking further injury to Raheem Lovelace or Joey Terrell, actually, both of which have some slight injury concerns. So I'm bringing in the true freshman, elite development trait, Dennis Colin, to make his debut on the season in what has kind of turned into a blowout. Dennis is already a 78 overall. He has elite development, and he has 93 speed at the middle linebacker position. And Gerard Byler will be the other sub linebacker the rest of the way as well. He's an 86, same overall as Joey Terrell, but not quite as good in coverage. I decided to decline that penalty and force a 3rd and 8 on the mean green. Let's see if they can manage to convert. They do. It just gets behind A.J. Hepburn. 1st and 10 North Texas as we enter the 4th quarter. 1st and 10 from the 47 to start the 4th quarter, and they are finally beginning to go to the air. That one is completed. Robert Butts and George Kiki combining for the tackle. So now it looks like, now that we're officially in the 4th quarter, North Texas is going to go to the air a lot, and McCullum a chance to prove himself. He's going to be under pressure here from Alan Swan. Misses the tackle, finding an open man. Touchdown for the Mean Green. Alan Swan missed a free sack, and it results in a North Texas touchdown. Our pass rush to start last season was absolutely abysmal, and it's looking that way so far this season as well. We do have the true freshman 4-star edge rusher Adonis Keogh waiting in the wings. If we ever feel like we should start him, we can. I've decided to bring Cole Welliver into the game because I figure with a lead as big as we've got, you might as well see both of the quarterbacks today and maybe understand why I made the Tobin decision. Not that Welliver is bad by any means. For the most part, though, he's going to be doing a lot of handing off to Darrell Robinson as we look to chew clock and get out of here with the first victory on the season as Robinson gets 4 more. That brings us to a 3rd and 3 from the 31 as Welliver is back to pass as a man wide open. It's Shamar Porter underneath. 1st and 10 from the 42 as Welliver is back to pass, trying to lob one up for Darrell Robinson, but takes a hit. 3rd and 7, empty set for Cole Welliver, and he runs out of time immediately. Takes a sack, and we'll have to punt it away. Got to be careful here. We're definitely leaving the door open for North Texas. 33-14, 7 minutes left to play in the game. North Texas with the ball and looking to get on the board again as, wow, was that Robert Butts that laid that huge hit? McCollum out of the shotgun, does look to throw and has time, finds a man over the middle. For a second, I thought the ref was about to play some defense. 1st and 10, North Texas. From the 48 this time in UConn territory. McCollum, of course, looks to throw again and has time again. Finds his man again, and it's a first for North Texas again. Where was this all game? If they could throw the ball like this to start, we might have a bit more competitive of a football game on our hands. Right now, it's still UConn up by 3 scores. Man, this pass rush is so horrible as McCollum has all day and ultimately decides to throw it away as everything is covered. I wish I could have that long to throw. That is ridiculous. 2nd and 10 from the 33. McCollum back to pass and finding his target. George Kiki is there but can't punch it out. Under 6 minutes left to play now. 1st and 10 from the 20. McCollum back to pass, has a man. Drodbeiler is there but can't make the tackle. 1st and goal. They're not taking very long on this drive, that is for sure. McCollum will actually keep it on a read option. Daniel Hutchison there forces the ball out, and it's going to be recovered by A.J. Hepburn. He's got running room here to the left side. He might be gone. This could be a fumble 6 for the UConn Huskies, and that's exactly what it's going to be. From the 10, Hepburn will celebrate, and it's the 2nd defensive touchdown on the day for the University of Connecticut. There's a holding penalty there for North Texas. We will, of course, decline that and take the 6. Looks like this defense is going to force some turnovers this season. They've still got the starters out on the field. I thought maybe they would have substituted in the backups by now. 5 minutes left to play. It's 40-14. You've given up 2 defensive touchdowns. Shout out A.J. Hepburn on the return. Daniel Hutchison forcing the fumble. You know, I said I had my doubts about Hutchison. So far, he is absolutely proving me wrong. He's played very well today. As McCollum will throw here. Finding his man, Hutchison and Hepburn combine for another tackle. That seems like quite the duo at this point. And it is not Hutchinson, by the way. I'm not mispronouncing it. It is actually Hutchison. It does not have an N. 1st and 10 from the 40 for North Texas. Man, he has a guy wide open over the middle. Instead, he throws it right at George Kiki, just missing the man over the middle. At least the CPU misses targets sometimes as well. Makes me feel better about myself. 2nd and 10 from the 40. McCollum back to pass. And finding his running back. Wow, terrible angle from George Kiki. Robert Butts gets juked, and Kiki brings him down inside the 10 at the 9. 1st and goal, North Texas. Under 3.5 minutes left to play. McCollum to throw. Running out of time. Whitaker in the backfield takes a hit, but finds his man. Touchdown, Mean Green. So making it look a little bit more respectable, but this game is basically over, as this will make it 40-21 unless they elect to go for the 2-point conversion. Wait, the play got called back. They ruled that he was not in the end zone, so now they're at the 1-yard line on 2nd and goal. So from the 1, McCollum will hand off. Whitaker is there, and now it's 3rd and goal. Calvin Whitaker experiencing some serious wear and tear, so Corin Daly will come into the game. 3rd and goal from the 1. They're in that I formation, but it's going to be a throw, and it's going to be a touchdown for real this time for North Texas. So it's 21-40. Of course, North Texas going for the onside kick recovery. It's really the only chance they have at this point. Jackson Harper will make the grab and just go down. That should mostly secure it. They do still have all 3 of their timeouts. It's 1st and 10 from the 44. 2:17 remaining, so I guess in a sense they have 4 timeouts. Well, Darrell Robinson is gone. Could go for a touchdown, decided to just halt and go down. Game over. UConn getting their first victory on the season pretty easily against North Texas, but that was kind of expected. It's part of why I put North Texas on the calendar to start the year, because they're a decent opponent, but one that we should beat pretty easily with the way our team is set up right now. I liked what I saw from the defense primarily, although the run defense is a little concerning. But of course, George Kiki getting the pick 6, Jamie Santos getting a pick of his own, Daniel Hutchison forcing a fumble, and A.J. Hepburn returning that for 6. Noteworthy that all of those guys I mentioned are sophomores from our first ever recruiting class. The offense, however, was a little concerning in the passing game. Specifically, it just seems like our offensive line is still absolutely buns. The running game obviously still works. Darrell Robinson had an incredible game, but the pass blocking still not there, and it kind of just reaffirms my suspicions that it probably needs to be Dorian Tobin because he can just get out of the pocket, but even that didn't work a lot of the time today. I really don't want to have to resort to the quick passing game like we did last season with Nick Evers, where we just do drag routes and checkdowns to Shamar Porter the whole season. I want to be able to air it out a little bit more, and I think Tobin allows us to do that with the ability to scramble and play a bit more out of structure than Cole Welliver does. But didn't have the best day. Probably should have had 2 interceptions. There were 2 really bad throws that I specifically decided to make, but had a good day statistically outside of kind of a low yardage total. But all of the yards were eaten up by Darrell Robinson. 24 attempts, 194 yards, and a touchdown. Potentially an early Heisman candidate? I don't know. Receiving, Shamar Porter 5 for 41, had his touchdown. Robinson 4 for 17. Overhauser 2 for 62 and a touchdown. This is going to be his bread and butter. He is truly a deep threat, has the best speed in the receiver room. He is a guy I want to try to lob it up to downfield from time to time, and that's what we did today. 31 average for him. And I did try to get Dalton Schmizniak involved today. I did target him a number of times. I did that with some intent. I want to spread the ball around a little bit more this season rather than just sticking with Porter and Angler. So I did make a conscious effort to get Dalton involved. It's just North Texas has 2 star corners that are really highly rated. So Dalton was pretty well covered most of the time, and a lot of his routes take longer to develop. So the offensive line playing poorly only hurts Dalton. For blocking, Jack Hines gave up 3 sacks. It's not entirely his fault because I do tend to scramble to the left side. So me stepping up in the pocket there, it's easier for the defender to release and then get a sack. And it's only like a 1-yard sack. So I won't hold that against him too bad, but that is really disappointing. I played him at the left side because I figured he'd be more consistent than Torian Johnson, but maybe I was wrong. Ben Morosky is an absolute stud. Maybe we slide him to left tackle. I don't even know at this point. The dude is a menace. Shamar Porter, by the way, with 2 pancake blocks as a wide receiver, that's gross. Defensively, Raheem Lovelace led in solo tackles, left with some injury concerns, which is not ideal, as did Joey Terrell. His were less severe, but I still just didn't want to risk it up as much as we were that early in the season. Calvin Whitaker also left with some injury concerns, but did have 3 TFLs. Looks to be maybe our best defensive lineman at the moment. I was pretty impressed with Robert Butts. He filled that Kai Stokes role pretty well. The role where you're just all over the place and making a lot of tackles, making a lot of plays. Of course, the guys with interceptions, George Kiki, Jamie Santos. Santos also had 2 pass deflections, and then Daniel Hutchison with the forced fumble, and the fumble recovered and returned for 97 yards by AJ Hepburn. So let me know what you guys thought about that game and what you think about Dorian Tobin as the starting quarterback. By the way, if he doesn't start at quarterback, he can actually play at receiver, and that 98 speed at receiver is absolutely insane. If we ever do want to make the switch, I do think that Tobin is a 2-way player. I think he can play quarterback or receiver, both at very high levels. Currently, I lean to Tobin at quarterback, especially after that offensive line performance that we just saw. And just before we advance on to week 2, I forgot to mention the red shirts, but it's basically just all of the freshmen. The 2 freshman quarterbacks that we brought in are redshirted, the 2 freshman halfbacks. Anyone that we brought in last season, for the most part, other than the tight end Dan Sanders, did get redshirted. And that includes the freshman middle linebacker Dennis Colin, but I might bring him in from time to time. He obviously has 4 games that he's allowed to play in, now only 3 remaining, just because he's an exciting prospect, that is for sure. Wow, UConn up to 7th in the country currently after that dominating win over North Texas. And in the next episode, they face off against an SEC opponent in Arkansas, but that game is also at home. And this season, I want to keep up with what's going on around the league a little bit more. So at the end of every episode, I'll probably scroll through these matchups. You guys can take a peek and see maybe if your favorite team is performing well or not. Auburn, who we play at the end of the season, lost to Boston College today. Tennessee beats Duke. South Carolina over Michigan State. And then otherwise, I'm kind of just looking for upsets. Toledo beating New Mexico. Maybe not really an upset there. Syracuse, now a new member in the Big 12, absolutely dominating Georgia State 38-0. UMass, coming off of its most successful season in program history, loses its first game to an FCS school. Definitely not what they wanted to start the year. Bowling Green beats Mississippi State. Wow, Mississippi State is in a sorry state at this point. Florida Atlantic upsets Notre Dame 35-27. Sounds like that was a pretty fun game. Middle Tennessee State 45-0 over UTSA. Utah State also losing to an FCS school. Kind of a bloodbath here between FIU and Mizzou. Mizzou ultimately taking the victory. Penn State just barely squeaking by FCS East. Virginia upsetting Clemson 34-32. Tulane just barely beating out New Mexico State. Northwestern is currently ranked 6th in the country, by the way, and they are barely beating Akron in week number 1. Iowa beating Texas. Navy loses to FCS West. And those are honestly the big ones to mention so far. I'll scroll up. You can feel free to pause at any moment, take a look, see if your team took a dub, and then we'll go look at the top 25 here in just a second. But these were all of the week 1 matchups. So here's the media poll as it sits right now. I do think that this is all kinds of out of whack. I don't know why Northwestern is listed at number 6. I don't think they had that great of a year last year. I think we're way too high at number 7. UAB obviously coming off of the championship. I'm surprised they're all the way down at 8th, to be honest. And then other teams in the top 25, no really surprising names at this point. Maybe Minnesota. I know that they're typically not one of the best Big Ten teams, but they're doing pretty well this year. This will definitely fluctuate a lot. Obviously, we're in the early parts of the season. But anyway, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. As you know, in the early parts of the season, we'll generally do 1 game per episode for the first couple of episodes, and then the rest of the season will be 2 games per episode. Let me know what you guys think and what changes you would make. But if you find yourself coming back on the regular and you aren't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that sub button for me. It does help me out a lot, and I will see you guys in the next episode where we face one of our biggest tests on the season and an SEC opponent in Arkansas.